South African municipalities lack adequate financial reporting skills, and this is evident in the dismal audit outcomes released this week. Our Parliament's Standing Committee on the Auditor-General, the Standing Committee on Public Accounts and the Select Committee on Appropriations have jointly expressed their gratitude to the Auditor-General for her work. But they're concerned about the financial futures of our municipalities. For more on this now, let's bring in the chairperson of the Standing Committee on the Auditor-General, Sakhumzi Somyo. He joins us from East London. Thank you so much for your time this evening. Now, when those statistics came out this week, again, you just picture South Africans sitting with their head in their hands saying these numbers just look the same year in, year out. But your committee has tried to focus on some of the positives that have come out of this year's numbers and focusing on the fact that the Auditor-General was able to bring in some interventions in certain communities that have shown some kind of improvement. What are some of those interventions that you believe can be implemented in other municipalities and that can have a positive outcome in time for the next audit?
Well, thank you very much, yourself and your viewers. Indeed, we're very much disappointed by the outcome generally of the audit, though we have some form of excitement when we saw how the Auditor-General has committed his teams to work within municipalities. One of those instances is when the proof of bad financial reports had to come to the Auditor-General for the final audit. Her teams work day and night to improve such standard of financials. Secondly, is the fact that there's been improvement in interactive exercise between certain municipalities and the Office of the Auditor-General, which has improved the trust on both instances, where the Auditor-General will provide advice in time, and those institutions take care of such advice and implement it as advised. Thirdly, the fact of institutionalizing the controls, and that is the primary factor of both failure and success, because once you deal with those basics, like your upkeep in as far as the records of expenditure are concerned, you are easy to find the way of accounting than have those somewhere lost, which digs deeper into the system of not caring to account for what you have spent, for what you have received, and that is glaring in as far as the quality of service which is provided to our own communities over time.
Also quite telling, you point out in your statement from your committee that the poor state of key financial management control shows that municipalities have not yet mastered financial reporting, as you've mentioned there, and 75% of them were not able to submit quality financial statements for auditing, which means, I suppose if you think about it in school terms, that you didn't even hand in your report with your name on it. That really is quite telling. Do you think there's a certain amount of disrespect coming into play there as well? What seems to be the issue here?
Because you'd appreciate the fact that all municipalities have been audited. They would envision a form of an operative structure which has a CFO who is heading financials of such institutions. They are paid for that responsibility. And their failure to make submissions of basic standard for the audit, it tells a lot in terms of the capacity which exists in such municipalities one way or the other. Only about 26% of financials which were credible, and the rest had to be assisted through the chain by the auditors, which is in the very same budget for the audit of each municipality at the time, because the time used is the time which ought to be paid. Leave that, put that aside. And you look into the budget which has been set aside for the payment of salaries of those who have been tasked with the management of financials in each and every municipality. Where the bad thing would be the add-on to that a salary bill, which goes to consultants, very exorbitant, goes to consultants, and then the quality which gets into the hands of the auditors is very appalling, and therefore, which brings the instance of less care in the ordinary instance, and therefore not taking some form of being confident in accounting and carrying the work which you have been assigned for.
Is it difficult for you to answer this question that I'm about to ask you? Is there any evidence that local government politics has a very real impact on these audit results? Can one draw a line? I mean, we speak about corruption at municipal level. I mean, the reports speak for itself. But can we draw a line to these very or from these very poor audits to local government politics, and as difficult and complex as it is? Or is that too complex of a line to draw? Because is it time to call a spade and say, this is a result of politics. We've got people in positions that are not qualified to be doing the financials of municipalities or to be running certain departments. At what point do you say till this point and not further? Because every year we're getting almost the same statement from your committee lamenting these very poor municipal audit results.
Well, you know, if our focal point is only at the local government level, because the AG has developed some parameters which are indicative of an existence of a system of accountability. And that system has been defined as an intertwined system, interactive system, the system which involves a number of parties to sustain the entirety of the system of local government, which then flows from the fact that, yes, you have local government, and you will have provinces with responsibility over local government. You have got certain institutions within those provinces, like coordinating departments, which ought to give themselves time to assist local government. And you'd have that system which is reliant on each and every platform to impact positively on the functionality and the state of local government. And then your question, which deals with politics per se, there's a glaring point here. If you look into the report as tabled by the AG, you would find out that there are two provinces which tell a sort of story. One province is the Free State, and the other one is the Northwest Province. And in both provinces, there's a dead silent activity in as far as the improvement of the audits are concerned. And if you look deeper into the actual governance, the nature of governance, whether we're looking into the local, the province, in those provinces, it tells you that your focus should not only be based at the local politics. It must look into an overarching system which ought to keep government live, to keep government accountable, to keep government overall to serve the communities. And something which is ought to be worked quite appropriately. And we'd appreciate that Northwest has been under Section 100 for quite some time, and that tells you the real story of governance in that province. And if you look into the politics in the two provinces, they would give you and nudge you in terms of where those provinces stand in terms of proper governance overall. And therefore, the nature of these results are then beginning to give that a kind of a story. So I want to urge you that your focus should not be limited at that space. because this is an entirety of the system. It's presented as an ecosystem which ought to rely into the benefit of all these other coordinating structures to assist the functionality of local government.
Okay, great. We're going to leave it there. Let's hope next year we've got something a little bit more positive to speak of when you send out your statement after yet another municipal audit round. We can keep our fingers crossed, I suppose. That there is the chairperson of the Standing Committee on the Auditor-General, Sakhumzi Somyo, joining us from East London.